7 frames, 7 experiences, 7 ways of looking at solo aging confidently. Was just share a little bit from my own perspective. I'm a solo ager. I'm in my mid 70th revolution of the sun, and there's some things that I've learned along the way in being a solo ager. Actually, I'm a digital nomad solo ager, as I've taken up a lifestyle where I sold my home and gave everything I owned away to live and interact online. More than set up a home is to give me the freedom to move around and see the world. And I have done so, but now I find myself a little bit more in a place where I might go sitting around and sort of seeing the world from one place. And that got me thinking about all the different kinds of ways in which I want to share with you experiences that might help you with your solo aging. Not necessary to say jump into a lifestyle or stay in one place and don't do anything else. But yet, if those are calling to you, then go for it and enjoy yourself. But there's some things, in this case, 7 ideas I want to share with you this morning. And I brought some notes along with me. But what I thought I would also do is shoot 1 or 2 of those suggestions in different areas of the walk. So I happen to be shooting this introduction on a bridge that crosses over the creek, and it just is a place to remind myself that as I'm moving from A, B, C, from A, I'm here, to C, I see it a little differently. I sometimes have to shift my B, my being, doing, and having. And what also supports me is in that B is to look at bridges and boats and sort of see how I might get from A to C using B. I'm playing with words. I appreciate any of you. You'll know that I enjoy playing with words. Time interacting with me. Be ready. You'll probably engage with some new words and some new ways of looking at things. And that's okay, because I so enjoy being for the world, with the planet, from the whole. So let's see where we end up as our first destination along this journey that I'm walking with the dog. And you'll meet Georgia as well. Here's our first spot. You'll notice Georgia heading towards that rock right there. Because what's across the creek is that open area. And we're going to have a conversation over there once I get to that spot. But I'm just going to sit down now on this rock and have a conversation with you about the first frame. Also, I wrote down some notes that I wanted to share. I don't often do that, but today I just wanted to add a little bit more to the mix, and therefore, how might I remember the key thoughts that I wanted to share with you? So you'll notice me looking down every once in a while in these videos. It's because I just want to pick up some of the key words that I have written on the piece of paper, just so that I can make sure I get those key thoughts across, and then I can share them with you. So the very first thing that I have learned along the way is to be my own pathfinder, or for you to be your own pathfinder. And I bring it up is because there's so many different kinds of paths that we can walk, and I've shot some videos about that, and I'll put one reference into the comment section, which is what I'll do quite often. Is if I've done a video on that topic, I'll put a reference to that video. And I bring it up is because in being your own pathfinder, there is a great outcome: happiness, joy, freedom, fulfillment. These are kind of words that have filled my life because of being my own pathfinder. And I have taken many paths around the world. I've done lots of different things. I've touched on 6 or 7 continents. I've worked in some pretty interesting jobs, from being a health educator in HIV and AIDS in Africa to being a relief operations officer, in particular running the relief operations, the air operations into a country that was at war. And so I've come to understand some aspects of what war is about. Don't wish it upon anyone, but I've come to understand it from some other perspectives, which has opened up my eyes to ways in which I want to live and things that I want to do. What it does, though, with being your own pathfinder is it's a life that you build and grow for yourself. And that is something that has been important to me over the years. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a digital nomad. I've taken up that lifestyle. I wouldn't have said to you years and years ago, oh, when I'm in my 70s, I'm going to be a digital nomad. No, I had fun getting into this one and seeing where it might take me, and I'm enjoying it immensely. So one of the things that I also came to understand is how important dreams are, because the dreams counter the drama. Yeah, the dreams counter the drama. And if I understand my dreams, what is it that are my intentions? You could use the word life purpose, direction, my life story. What is it that I want to share? What is it that's about? So other people might say, well, what are your goals? I say, okay, goals for myself, but outcomes with others. If I'm on a unique journey, I'm in adventures together with others. So how might I frame that up? What's those experiences going to look like? But I think one of the greatest things that came to mind when I thought of this topic, and to start with it, is that I really understand myself to be an explorer versus a treasure hunter. So I'm out and about looking for different experiences, different ways of looking at living my life, being for the world with the planet from the whole, versus say, okay, I want to find that treasure, which means I got to dig a hole, get in the cave, I got to do what I have to in a spot, versus, hey, let's go out exploring. So I offer that to you is because it also reminds me of a Steve Jobs story. Early in the career of Apple, he organized a leadership conference. Now, I don't know if he came up with this or the group that was supporting the leadership conference did, but he had T-shirts made up. So when persons walked in to go to the conference, the T-shirt said, "We're pirates, not the Navy." And so my interpretation was, I'm an explorer, not a treasure hunter. Now, again, for some of you who are listening in, you might go, no, I'd rather be a treasure hunter. No, I'd rather be the Navy. Great. It's a decision. It's a way in which to frame your experiences and how you would like to move through living your hale and hearty life. That's great. I celebrate that with you. So enjoy that as you move forward. But I guess a great idea I would suggest to you right now is create your to-be list. Not your to-do list, your to-be list. And see where that might take you. Let me know what your to-be list is. What would be your highlight? I'm still figuring out some of those in my life. But I think one that I would mention at this point in time is to write my novels. They're fantasy novels around an interesting couple of characters that I have been working on for a number of years. And I'm going to soon start getting those up. I've been developing the characters out a little bit more, writing up some of the situations that they'll be in. That's on my to-be list, to be a novelist in the world of fantasy. How about you? Let me know down below. Oh, I'm in my next spot. And just before we cross over a little bridge, which just happens to be over in that area there, I just thought that I'd stop and share number 2 and number 3 with you, just so that we could have another great place to see what's happening. But behind me, that's the view. It's a bit of a rocky slope. Up on top is farming, and I'm sitting here just on the edge of the creek just before I move over. So the second experience suggestion that I'd like to make, second framing, is to assemble your dream Gream. So the dream, remember, let the dream overtake the drama. Well, because you're adventuring together, it's important to bring a group of those that you would like to have some optimistic conversations with, ask their support of, and use some of the elements of team. Now, I picked up on this in the workplace, wrote a little book on it from a well-living workplace perspective, which was there are groups. That's sort of a little bit of a natural way of coming together. Teams aren't as natural, but we attempt to get people in the teams. There's certain characteristics about teams. So I always said, well, why don't we get groups and use what is best of the team ideals that are appropriate for that group. So if you're going to gather a group around you, you could look at team characteristics and say, hey, let's take A and D and F. We'll let the rest go, and that's what we'll use to bring our group, the group I want to interact with, together. And what that does is it encourages, okay, who do I want to connect with? And how do I want to maintain those connections so that all of us can benefit from what stays? And a couple of other things that I would just mention is see if you can get different ages, youngers, olders, and elders into your Gream. Because what that does is it gives you different kinds of ideas, some diversity of ideas. One thing I learned from traveling was I got access to a lot of different kinds of ideas and different perspectives and different points of view, and I enjoyed that. That was very helpful to me. And with this Gream there's movement involved. There's the movement for each person, but there's the movement of the Gream because everyone gets to benefit from the conversations that are being had. And that is fabulous. I sometimes use the word fabulicious. And the joy that comes from seeing those aha moments, those who are walking with you. So give some really good consideration into the creating a Gream for yourself. So who's someone today that you would want to invite into your Gream? Who would you like to walk with you? Reach out, have a conversation, see what happens. If they say no, okay. If they say yes, okay. Either way, it's okay. So let me know down below what the third framing I want to offer to you is around movement. Keep moving. Keep moving. I say keep moving. Oh, I so enjoy the movement. And mine is through walking. Enjoying nature, being out here with Georgia. You see Georgia come into the frame every once in a while. It's just a way to get out in nature, but it's more about moving your body around. Sometimes we can find ourselves sitting in chairs. Being a digital nomad, I sometimes find myself being in my chair a lot, and what I want to do is see what else is possible. And just checking what Georgia may be picking up on. I think you can see she's an alert. So this notion of walking, movement, if it's cycling, great, running, great, whatever it is that you want to bring into your life so that you can thrive I love that word, thrive, and be able to say to yourself, I can balance up this physical, mental, emotional way of looking at life, okay? And that is a super way in which to gain the solo aging confidence that's available to you. So with this one, I'm not going to labor this one, but I'm going to ask the following. Choose 2 things to continue in your movement, 1 thing to start that you haven't been doing, and what's 1 thing to stop. Where does that get you? And do that over the next couple of weeks. 2 things to continue for me is I've just got to increase the number of longer walks. I've been doing like 1 or 2 a week. I might go up to 3. So I'm going to continue my longer walks. I'm going to continue to eat correctly so that and see what happens. The one thing I'm going to start doing is I'm enjoying this videoing out while I'm walking, so I might do a little bit more of that and capture some moments and sort of see where that takes me, and to learn to look more into the camera than to look off at. The one thing I want to stop is I got to admit it. I scroll line. I gotta pay a little bit more attention to that. If there's some of the scrolling is to get access to some new information, wonderful. But scrolling for the sake of scrolling, I've got to take a look at that. How about you? Let me know down below. What is it that you're going to continue stopping? The next share is around. Some people use the word change. Okay, I tend to use shift. I will transition because of change, because I think of change as something that's external and transition as something that's internal. But I like the word shift because shift happens. You probably have heard that before. But one of the things that I would take into consideration, especially as you're walking along, is finding those places that gives you a little bit of a sense of, well, I think shift could be taking place here. This is just one of the places along the way where the new trees have come into the path really close. There's an older tree. It almost feels like a little door portal that moves you through. So I find these places, and when I walk, I go, doing a little shift. That's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun way to do it. So one of the things I would encourage us to think about is to be surprised, to welcome surprises into your life and what's unfolding for you. I enjoy them. I'm not talking about the prank surprises, okay? That's not what I'm attempting to get at. But this idea of, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of that before. That vista is really beautiful. Let those surprises come into you around what's happening, okay? And one core element here is welcome solo aging confidently. Yeah, welcome it. Don't say, okay. Welcome it. There are those who will live their life avoiding things. I live my life attaining things, the experiences, the new thoughts, meeting really great people. I'm not attempting to avoid things that are taking place. I'm going, okay, solo aging confidently. Who can I meet available? How can I attain there? So I just bring that back to your foreground. It's okay to use words like pivot, adjustment, corrections, course corrections. It's okay. They're fine. Well, heck, I've done, hang on a minute, I've done a lot of adjustments and course corrections as well. Okay. Am I going to continue to do so? No, you bet. There'll be even more along the way. Which brings to the foreground patience, flexibility, and discretion. If you remember, I had, in one of the earlier segments, spoke about I had experienced a war. And through the organization I was working with, they kept always sharing is find the patience, flexibility, and discretion to deal what's unfolding in front of you. And I've taken that to heart, and that's something I do every day is find the patience, flexibility, and so I guess what I would get to at this point in time, where I've shared a couple of tips, what would be some tips that you could share in the comments section for someone who is moving into solo aging that you think would be of value, that would help them to develop experiences, to frame up their move? And I would love to read those as well. And what might happen is we might find ourselves having a conversation someday on YouTube, and we can chat about. Give it a thought. See what happens. Just before moving into the next framing suggestion experience, I just wanted to acknowledge that this is that open area that was from the rock that I sat on. And that was in the first suggestion. So I'm on the other side of the creek, heading back down the trail, as I call it, because the creek that's here is flowing essentially east to west. And I just thought I'd give you just a short little view of the open field that's here and what it looks like. And I just came from that direction, and I'm headed in that direction. Hope you enjoy this little interlude. Next one I wanted to share with you is live the legacy you intend to leave. Often when I'm in conversations with others, other solo agers, they lean into this idea that legacy is something closer to, well, I'm going to transition, I'll figure out some of my legacy components. Yeah, I've got my will, my living will, all that. And I go, oh, that's great. Are you living your legacy, though? And I get that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. And I go, okay. Well, legacy is about life, leadership, yes, the legal aspects, literacy from the perspective of what is it that you need to learn more about, and this notion of leverage. Leverage, but put an O where the E is in the first one, leverage, so that you can become your lover over the ages. I like that. So I get them to think about, this notion of what does it mean to live your legacy. And by the time we're done, some of the key things that I bring forward, now I'm going to just read from my notes because there's a couple of very interesting points here that people have made, is what you're doing is you're figuring out what are going to be your unique markers, or what have been your unique markers. What are your adventure milestones? Remember, adventure here is what you do with others. And what could be your adventure milestones, knowing surprises are always welcome. You could deal with legacy from a simple lens or a complicated lens, or that continuum somewhere in between. You could look at the accurate or wayward. Sometimes people might use whimsical. Okay. The specific or general, something that's very specific you want to do, or general that you want to do. What have you done that's specific or general in the past? Maybe you want to repeat it, or you may want to do a different version of it. Lots of things to think about. Make sure that you consider the younger, older, elder connections around this legacy story. One of the things that I am doing is I'm sort of taking all my legacy ideas, putting them into a book. I'm could be an autobiography. I'm not quite sure. I think it'll be more of an activity prompt book to get people to think about what they can do to curate all of their markers and milestones to share. And I encourage persons to think about mentoring as legacy. If you have this experience and to remain relevant, leverage that experience, then think about mentoring as a legacy project, because you can live what you're doing with mentoring right now. It doesn't require an abundance of education. There are ways in which to think about it from the perspective of what are the basics and learn those basics, and then use it in connection to legacy. Give it a go. Give it a thought. That's what I have done. And what I've also done is I've created a legacy project called Awarests. And I'll put a link down below. And it's a legacy project about awareness from forests and interacting with nature. Now, I mentioned it in a lot of other videos. I'm just mentioning it here again, just to remind you, if you want to pop over and take a look at it, that would be great as well. So with that, that's the encouragement to live the legacy you intend to leave. I encourage you to be your best friend, to be your biggest best friend. Some people might say, oh, become your own cheerleader. Okay, that's another way of taking a look at it. But what I'm getting at here is, as a solo ager living confidently, celebrate what you're doing and being now. I'm celebrating it by shooting these videos. This is being fun for me today to be able to bring this forth, because it's bringing a lot of really great memories forward, but also, those are some other, yes, things that I could be, have, and do. And what it reminds me about is to check in with my perceptions of being for the world, and challenge my perspectives of that interpretation in terms of how I will show up, the ways in which I'll interact with the planet, the ways that I'll interact from the whole. Because what I'm doing is I'm saying to myself, I'm going to take a look at my hierarchy of values. What's really important to me from a values point of view? And mine tend to have an environmental leaning, also a mental, physical. I'm not so much from a social, familial. I don't have family per se. I have someone who lives quite far away, so don't rely on each other to live with one another. So I recognize that. I support her in her life, and I wish her the best, but we're not necessarily fully connected. And I guess what becomes important here, sometimes this can become a bit of a challenge. I'm just getting myself a little more comfortable for this statement. Thank you. You got to check your signals. What is it you're sending out about who you are, your be, have, do, the point of view that you're sharing? I've had to check in with myself a couple of times now, and that has really awakened me to new possibilities, but also to remind myself of the way in which I want to thrive. I want to live a hale and hearty life now. And it comes back to some of the ideas that I've shared earlier about what's possible. So even reaching out to that family member, making a reconnection. Maybe you're estranged, and that might be something that's available to you. It's really getting that group of that Gream around me. And so there are times when it hits, and you just sort of, okay. And for me, one of the ways I deal with it is I go for a walk. And I just check my perceptions, my perspectives, organize my point of view, and just say, I love you. Yeah, I love myself. I encourage you to think about how it is that you're being your biggest friend, and what is it you can do So let me know in the comments section how you are your biggest friend, your cheerleader, your way of living this life, this hale and hearty life that you'd like to share with us so we might learn from you. I'd appreciate it. Oh, made it home. And number 7, I'm going to do it from the front porch. And the reason being, it's actually to bring the other 6 together in some kind of combinations. And you might go, well, I'll bring 1 and 4 together, and maybe next month I'll bring 2 and 6 together. Whatever tickles your fancy, give it a go, see what happens and what comes forward. But one of the encouragements is to adventure together. I've mentioned this already, but I would encourage you to get that group around you because you educate what you love to learn. And as each of you helps each other through collaborative conversations, you actually deepen and enrich your own experiences. You gain more evidence of what it is that's going on. And that can be glorious because what it does is it opens up a diversity of ideas. It's a way in which to think through, how is it that I can live my legacy life that I want to leave? It just helps you on so many different fronts. And so I would encourage you to think about how you might mix and match these 6 and do it, say, beginning of the month or the end of the month, or it's coming up to halfway through 2024 for me at this point in time. So I think I'm going to rewatch this video and make my own to-be list and sort of figure out what it is that I'm going to do for the next 6 months because of what I shared in this video. I'll see what happens. What the heck? Let's take a look and figure out what's possible here and what opportunities I can grab to really advance living my solo aging confident life. How's that? My hale and hearty life. So that takes me into a summary. So there's a couple of points that I would like to leave with you. And they go as follows. I did write some notes to myself, so again, I'm going to read them directly. Life. Be in it. Like you feel it. Better, wiser, kinder. Better in the sense of leave your mark for the world. Wiser in the sense that you leave the footfalls with the planet. And kinder in the sense of confidence from the whole. One of the cores here is you have to remember you determine the quality of your experiences until you decide otherwise. That's an underlying theme that has come through with the conversations I'm having with other solo agers. I had to dig that one out of myself. You determine the quality of your experiences until you decide otherwise. Take that to heart and see what that does for you. Now, what's available, if I can be of assistance, is Legacy Decoded. Moves you into Legacy Mastery. If that's something you'd like to learn more about, you can drop us a comment or you can go to the website, wealthmovement.com/contact, reach out, and I'll help you out wherever way I can. The other is if mentoring calls to you and you want to learn about mentoring now to unveil what mentoring is all about in your life, I can help you out again. Go to that same contact form, reach out, ask us about mentoring now. And before I close up completely, I just want to thank you for getting to this point. Georgia and I appreciate that you did that. And I know that it's time to go water and feed Georgia, and I'm going to go make a cup of ginger tea, a couple of cookies for the treat, having gotten back from the walk. And so I wish you the best, and at all times, take care.